Hammer Battler, the last unlockable unit of Chapter 1. Your final parting gift before entering the red zone, and where the difficulty of this game starts to ramp up quicker and with more unique enemy types that you won't be able to unlock. But that's besides the point. I think everyone can agree that this guy is a great unit and probably doesn't even deserve a breakdown, yet no guides use him, and we need to change that. I might be unpopular, but that doesn't stop me from trying my darn best to tell you each and every reason this guy is the best generalist this game offers. So, of course, let's first check out the stats of the man himself. I'll be using the level 10 stats to compare the units, while the level 30 stats will be shown on the screen on the bottom right. So if sometimes the numbers don't line up, now you know. Hammer Battler is unlocked after beating Doombringer on Doom Spire Brick Battle, costing 200 bricks, 50 more bricks than normal. Hammer Battler has quite the unique stats, and we can't compare it to anything you'll reasonably have during this stage of the game, so... Hammer Battler has above average HP and deals as much damage as a paintballer with half the fire rate, meaning its DPS is twice as high, costing only 300 bucks and with a shorter cooldown than most other higher damaging units, which makes him quite spammable. However, his main crown jewel is, of course, his bucket. This bucket gives him defense, and is the first unit you'll unlock that has defense, having a respectable 22 defense at level 10. And on top of that, he has an AoE melee attack, similar to the Titan you unlocked 5 stages ago. So in reality, his DPS is much higher than the wiki says, since the AoE will affect multiple enemies at once. Oh, he also has Base Destroyer, tripling his damage against bases, and is anti-red. I almost forgot to mention those. Banhammer Battler, like a lot of other alternative forms, amplifies all weaknesses and strengths of their base form. In this case, Banhammer now does increased damage and creates 3 equally strong, damaging shockwaves that slowly go in front of him when landing a hit. I'll get to why I mentioned landing a hit more later on. Besides that, he also gets some nerfs to his cost, his fire rate, and a thing most people don't think about, wind-up. His cost is doubled from 300 to 600, his fire rate is tripled from 2 seconds to 6 seconds, and his windup is increased by 0.45 of a second compared to his original 0.3 windup. Alright, that about does it for this section. Now let's get on to the advantages. Hammer Battler being unlocked right before the curve of Chapter 2 is perfect, since it'll be your first experience with defense of your own, which red units like to take advantage of heavily. Also, having anti-red will make the entrance to Chapter 2 a lot easier, and him having defense also stops red units from using their fire, which a few of them have, especially Turkey. This allows him to hold his ground for like 1 to 2 more swings, which is a lot considering this unit costs like 300 bucks only. Besides Chapter 2, he is good for every stage onwards. He's a cheap enough mini tank, which is basically just a stronger meat shield, that can fight back and has a relatively short cooldown. Him having defense makes him perfect for countering fast attacking units, which this game has a handful of, and like sprinkling in a few every stage. He is also an AoE unit, which can deal pretty decent damage to a group of enemies, and you can never have enough area of effect units in a game like Battle Bricks, am I right? Even then, it isn't even bad for single target, certainly not to the extent of Retro, Slinger, or Sword, but it can definitely hold its ground for a while. Its alternative form, Banhammer, has fairly far range shockwaves, and actually the range of the shockwave is so far that it can hit units with range 12 or lower, so Banhammer can act as a semi-backline killer. Banhammer having 3 shockwaves also makes it so enemies walking towards the front line might get hit by 2 different shockwaves. This combined with its increased damage can deal a lot of damage, weakening tanks and sometimes even flat out killing meat shields before they can reach your front line. Wow, are there some advantages. I wonder what disadvantages they added to counteract all these positives. Hey, if you're watching this video, why not consider subscribing? I know every YouTuber does this, but you wouldn't believe how much it actually helps with getting these videos out to other people. I didn't believe it either. Almost as much as I don't believe you hitting that like button. Okay, that felt a bit cringy. Just get to the disadvantages now. This might sound crazy to say, but I don't think Hammer has any major downsides. Sure, you could say a high single damaging bullet could counter his defense, But look, every unit gets countered by that. He isn't slow, he doesn't have a long cooldown, he has solid HP and DPS. He is a melee unit, but even so, ranged units like Slingshot and Arch have a hard time getting through that bucket of his. Hammer might just be the best generalist unit this game offers. This unit literally has no specific downsides. This unit is the pinnacle of the battle bricks. You could use this guy in any loadout, in any stage, and he'll be a great asset either way. Is this true greatness? Have we found a jack of all trades of the battle bricks? Is this how we beat Blood? I think I've made my point clear. I am heavy usage of the letter I can't think of a singular downside specifically for Hammer Battler during the 20 minutes I spent making the script. I checked the wiki, and yet it only provides the mention of high damaging units, which even then, that technically doesn't count since those units usually have a slow attack rate, and with Hammer spammability, even they can't stop this unit. Well, since Hammer is basically unstoppable if used with the correct units, does this mean Banhammer is even better? Is Banhammer the literal instant win button we needed? Surely he wouldn't have any glaring downside. Banhammer is nothing like his younger brother. He isn't terrible like before, but certainly isn't the pure generalist that Hammer is. Mainly for 3 reasons. Reason 1. Banhammer increased cooldown and his increased cost without any changes to his health or defense makes Banhammer a lot less spammable, which was the only thing stopping this unit from getting countered by high single target damage. Reason 2, Banhammer has an absurdly long windup and fire rate. He takes 3/4 of a second to wind up his hammer. This doesn't sound that bad on paper, till you realize that if he doesn't hit anything, not only will he have no shockwave, but he also has to wait 5 whole seconds afterwards before he can even move or attack again. Missing this shot basically guarantees his death. Now how could he miss this swing? Let's check the list. If you have an enemy that can move backwards or through units like Knight's Second Life or Dark Rusher Battler, he's whiffing that swing. What if you have a unit that can deal knockback? Well, too bad, should have picked a better loadout. Actually, that doesn't even matter. If the enemy can deal knockback, he also misses, so I guess you just should have picked a better stage. What if the enemy just flat out dies? Well, he's already winding up, so too late, just gotta wait another 6 seconds. There's a ton of cases where this can happen, and they all fall in those categories. They are very common situations, so it's kinda hard to get him to hit his hammer. It really just shows how long 3/4 of a second is in this game. Finally, and the more indirect issue, is the existence of Lil Doombringer. Doombringer is just kinda a stronger Banhammer in every way. Doombringer has 6 more defense at level 10 than Ban. Doom has basically double Ban's HP. Doom nearly doubles Ban's damage and actually doubles Ban's DPS. Plus the Bringer has a neat feature where he dies, he unleashes a similar shockwave ability, which is guaranteed to hit and does more damage. So it's kinda over for Ban. Doom might be slower than Ban in a lot of ways, but Doom can hold the front line a lot longer than Ban for only an extra 200 to 400 bucks. Besides those reasons, however, he isn't actually that bad. If you can find a stage that lets him land his shockwave, it can be devastating for short-range units and meat shield stacks. So what did we learn today? Today we learned that Hammer is the GOAT and everyone should use him. He's the purest generalist you could ever have, and him being obtained on the first chapter is actually diabolical due to how strong he is. Defense, AoE, anti-red is the perfect combination for the next challenge you're going to have to face. Chapter 3 and onward, he'll definitely be one of my top picks when entering a new stage, simply because of his versatility. Making this video actually showed me how well even the starter units are. Who knows, maybe I'll make a whole video on the normal 8 units. They definitely got their perks. This hopefully has enlightened you and me that not everything good has to be later on in the game. Well, that about does it. Comment what battler you'd like me to review next. Maybe I'll uncover a new gem too. Please don't say blood. I've been stuck on stage 46 for so long. I can't with the DJ, man. I hate the DJ, man, so